In the heart of a small Midwestern town, where faith and family are the cornerstones of life, the Miller family stood as a beacon of morality. Pastor Daniel Miller, a man of unwavering devotion, preached about the sanctity of family. "Family is the foundation of our faith," he declared, his voice echoing through the church. "Without it, we are lost." Beside him sat his wife, Sarah, the picture of grace and support. Her gentle smile masked a quiet unease, a tension that lingered just beneath the surface. In the front row, Thomas, Daniel's father and a revered church elder, watched his son with pride. The Miller children, Emily, Daniel Jr., Caleb, Lily, and Jacob, filled the pews, their laughter and closeness a testament to the idyllic life they seemed to lead. But even in this warm, seemingly perfect world, there were cracks. Sarah's occasional glances at Thomas carried a weight no one else noticed. The family's harmony was a fragile facade, one that would soon shatter under the weight of a single revelation. The town itself seemed to breathe with the rhythms of faith. Every Sunday, the church bells rang out, calling the faithful to worship. Daniel's sermons were legendary, filled with passion and conviction. He spoke of love, forgiveness, and the unbreakable bonds of family. But as the congregation listened enraptured, Sarah's mind often wandered. Her thoughts were heavy, burdened by secrets she had carried for years. Thomas, too, carried an air of mystery. Though revered as a moral compass, his interactions with Sarah were tinged with an unspoken tension. The children, oblivious to the undercurrents, laughed and played, their innocence a stark contrast to the secrets that would soon unravel their lives. It began innocently enough. Emily, ever the curious teenager, proposed a family DNA test for a school project. "It'll be fun," she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "We might even find out we're related to royalty." Sarah's smile faltered. "These tests can be invasive," she said hesitantly, "and not always accurate." Daniel, ever the optimist, dismissed her concerns with a laugh. "It's just a bit of fun," he said. "We've got nothing to hide." But as the family agreed to the test, Sarah's unease grew. Her hands trembled as she cleared the dinner table, her mind racing with the implications of what the test might reveal. Thomas, too, remained silent, his stoic demeanor masking the storm brewing within him. The dinner continued, the conversation shifting to lighter topics. Daniel Jr. joked about finding out they were descended from Vikings, while Caleb and Lily debated whether they'd inherit any royal titles. But Sarah's unease was palpable. She excused herself to the kitchen, her hands trembling as she poured a glass of water. Thomas followed her, his presence looming. "It's just a test," he said, his voice low. "Nothing will change." Sarah's response was barely a whisper. Everything could change. The tension between them was thick, a silent acknowledgement of the secrets they had buried for so long. The family's laughter echoed from the dining room, a stark contrast to the storm brewing beneath the surface. The results arrived on an ordinary Tuesday evening. As the family gathered around the computer, Daniel's laughter filled the room. "This has to be a mistake," he said, his voice tinged with nervousness. "A database error." But Sarah stood frozen, her trembling hands betraying her guilt. "I don't know what to say," she whispered, her voice barely audible. The truth was undeniable. Daniel was not the biological father of his children. The DNA matched Thomas. In that moment, the foundation of the Miller family crumbled, and the idyllic life they had built was revealed to be a lie. Daniel's mind raced as he stared at the screen. "This can't be right," he muttered, refreshing the page as if the results would change. But they didn't. The evidence was clear, and the implications were devastating. Emily, sensing the tension, asked, "What's wrong, Dad?" Daniel couldn't answer. His world was spinning, the walls of his faith and family collapsing around him. Sarah's silence spoke volumes, her guilt written plainly on her face. Thomas, ever the stoic, remained silent, his expression unreadable. But his presence loomed large, a reminder of the betrayal that had been hidden for so long. Daniel's voice trembled with rage as he confronted Sarah. "Explain this," he demanded, thrusting the results toward her. "They're saying I'm not their father, but there's another match in our family." Care to explain? Sarah broke down, her sobs filling the room. I was trapped, she confessed. I didn't know how to stop it. All 5 of them, they're his. Daniel's world shattered. The man who had preached about faith and family now stood amidst the ruins of his own. His rage and grief were overwhelming, a storm that would soon consume everything in its path. The children, hearing their mother's cries, gathered at the doorway. Emily's eyes filled with tears as she asked, "What's going on?" Daniel turned to them, his heart breaking as he realized the truth they didn't yet understand. "Go to your rooms," he said, his voice strained. Now, as the children retreated, Daniel's anger boiled over. "How long?" he demanded, his voice rising. "How long has this been going on?" Sarah's sobs were her only answer. The weight of her betrayal hung heavy in the air, a suffocating presence that left Daniel gasping for breath. His faith in love, family, and God was irrevocably shattered. Alone in his car, Daniel's thoughts spiraled. "How could they do this to me?" he whispered, his voice breaking. "My wife, my father, my children. Everything I believed in was a lie." The memories of his once happy life now felt like a cruel joke. His faith, his family, his very identity, all of it had been built on a foundation of deceit. And as the rage within him grew, so too did his desire for vengeance. The road stretched endlessly before him, the darkness mirroring the void in his heart. He thought of the sermons he had preached, the lessons he had taught about forgiveness and love. But now those words felt hollow, meaningless. "Forgiveness?" he muttered, his voice bitter. "How can I forgive this?" He remembered baptizing his children, Sarah smiling as she held baby Emily, Thomas proudly watching him deliver a sermon. But these memories were now tainted, their sweetness replaced by the acrid taste of betrayal. Daniel's hands tightened on the steering wheel, his knuckles white. "They'll pay," he whispered, his voice cold and resolute. "They'll all pay." The house was silent, save for Sarah's pleading voice. "Please, Daniel. I love you. We can fix this." But Daniel's eyes were cold, his heart hardened by betrayal. "You destroyed everything," he said, his voice devoid of emotion. "You'll pay for it." The scene was brutal, the air thick with the sound of Sarah's screams, and then silence. The once happy home was now a crime scene, stained with the blood of betrayal. Daniel stood over Sarah's lifeless body, his breathing heavy, his hands trembling. "It's done," he whispered, his voice hollow. Now it's his turn. The night was dark, the stars hidden behind thick clouds, as if even the heavens couldn't bear to witness what he had done. Thomas's pleas fell on deaf ears. "Daniel, listen to me. It's not what you think," he begged. But Daniel was beyond reason. "You're a monster," he spat, his voice filled with venom. "You deserve to feel the pain you inflicted on me." The scene was horrifying, the air filled with Thomas's screams, and then silence. The man who had once been a moral compass was no more. Daniel stood in the center of the room, his face expressionless, his soul seemingly drained of all emotion. "It's over," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "It's finally over." But as he stood there, a single tear rolled down his cheek, a fleeting moment of humanity amidst the horror. As the police arrived, Daniel sat calmly on the porch, his hands stained with blood. "It's done," he said, his voice eerily calm. "God's justice has been served." The officers discovered Sarah's body and the gruesome scene at the Miller home. The family that had once been a symbol of faith and morality was now a cautionary tale of betrayal and vengeance. Daniel, still sitting on the porch, looked up at the sky. "Forgive me," he whispered, his voice filled with sorrow. "I had no choice." But as the police led him away, the question lingered. Was this truly justice, or had Daniel become the very monster he sought to destroy? The trial was a spectacle, the town reeling from the horror of Daniel's actions. Daniel Miller was driven to madness by unimaginable betrayal, his defense attorney argued. But the prosecutor was unwavering. Nothing justifies the brutality of his actions. The verdict was inevitable, guilty. Daniel was sentenced to life in prison, his once promising life reduced to a tragic footnote. As the verdict was read, Daniel's face showed no emotion, no remorse, only a hollow emptiness. The man who had once preached about love and forgiveness was now a prisoner, his faith shattered, his family destroyed. In the silence of his cell, Daniel clutched his Bible, the book that had once been his guide. "I lost everything," he whispered, his voice filled with sorrow. "My faith, my family, my soul. But I did what I had to do." The story of the Miller family is a reminder that even the most seemingly perfect lives can hide dark secrets. It is a tale of love and betrayal, faith and vengeance, and the fragile line that separates right from wrong. In the end, Daniel's actions were a testament to the destructive power of rage and the devastating consequences of betrayal. But they also raised a haunting question. In the face of unimaginable pain, what would any of us do?